Good day, everyone. I am Mr. Franklin P. Calaminos, a faculty of Sorsogon State University, Magallanes Campus. May I present to you my qualitative research entitled Modular Home-Based Instruction in Mathematics for Primary Grades During the COVID-19 Pandemic, Experiences of Parent Teachers. This study is conducted in Sorsogon, a province located in the Bicol region. It is the southernmost province in Luzon, which is divided into 14 municipalities and one city. Specifically, the participants of this study were selected in one of its municipalities, Magallanes. It is primarily considered a coastal town since 24 of its 34 barangays are situated along the seashore and with the abundant marine resources. In this municipality, one of the campuses of Sorsogon State University is cited, where I am one of the faculty members. Affecting almost all countries and territories, the global outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has spread worldwide, which was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. It has created the largest disruption of education systems in human history, affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 200 countries. According to UNESCO, more than 90% of all learners were affected by school closures caused by COVID-19 at the peak of the disruption. In the Philippines, online or face-to-face surveys and interviews were conducted to determine the learning modality suited to their available resources at home, signal strength based on their location, and other factors affecting their preference. Based on the Philippine Department of Education official statement on learner enrollment and survey form as to the parents' preferred learning modality for their children, its data showed that 8.8 million parents preferred modular, 3.9 million blended, 3.8 million online, 1.4 million educational TV, 900,000 radio-based instruction, and around half a million preferred other modalities. Particularly in a public secondary school in San Carlos City, Pangasinan, modular learning also emerged as the most preferred learning mode according to their local LESFs. Learners cited the lack of available gadgets and internet connection as the main reasons why they preferred modular learning over online learning. Similarly, most of the parents and students at elementary, secondary, and tertiary schools in Magallanes, Sorsogon preferred modular distance learning because of poor or no internet connection in most of the barangays and no available cellular phones and laptops or computers at home to be used for online classes. In the article of Diego, modular distance learning involves individualized instruction that allows learners to use self-learning modules in print or digital format or electronic copy, whichever is applicable in the context of the learner, and other learning resources like learners' materials, textbooks, activity sheets, study guides, and other study materials. According to DepEd, parents and guardians perform the various roles in modular learning, such as modulator, bunny clock, and as home innovator. According to the research entitled Parents' Perceptions of Distance Learning During COVID-19 Pandemic in Rural Indonesia, conducted by Lasse, Salucho, Daily, and Indraha, despite their concern over the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on children's education, most parents do not want this distance learning extended and expect the government to reopen schools for the rest of the 2020 or 2021 school year. On the other hand, In the study conducted by Dangle and Sumawang, the challenges encountered by the parents in the implementation of modular distance learning in selected Philippine secondary schools are: 1. Difficulty on understanding and answering the modules of their child or children. 2. Have no enough time to guide their kids due to work and other responsibilities. 3. Modules having no clear instructions and explanation and having a lot of exercises. And 4. Students who lack motivation and focus. In addition, Agaton and Cueto found out in their study on lived experiences of the parents who act as learning supervisor, tutor, and homeschooling teacher for modular learning during the pandemic that delivery of instruction, unsatisfactory learning outcomes, financial difficulties while working for the family during lockdown, struggle with the use and availability of technology, and personal problems on health, stress, and learning style are the various challenges faced by the parents brought by the new mode of learning. With these viewpoints perceived and challenges met by the parents, there is a need for strong collaboration and more support among teachers, parents, and learners for the continuity of quality education in the new normal. As given emphasis on the study conducted by Guan and Benavides, the parents collaborated with the teachers with regards to subject matter, knowledge of the parents, and instruction. Based on the aforementioned related studies, there were quantitative and qualitative researches have been conducted on the perceptions and experiences of teachers, students, and parents on modular distance learning on both secondary and elementary levels in global, national, and local settings, although no qualitative researches have been conducted yet on experiences of parents in a specific learning area or subject in primary grades and in a particular rural area in Sorsogon, namely Magallanes. With those research gaps, this study aimed to explore the experiences of parent-teachers on modular home-based instruction in elementary mathematics during COVID-19 pandemic. Specifically, it aimed to: 1. Describe the experiences of parent-teachers in teaching math with the use of modules. 2. Identify the strategies used by parent-teachers at home to teach and manage learning. And 3. Determine the support to the parent-teachers provided by the school in teaching math. As shown, the theoretical framework of this study considered at first the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic in education, such as closure of schools at all levels and the shift from face-to-face learning to distance learning. One of its types is the modular distance learning, which is the most preferred by the parents according to the DepEd survey. With its implementation, the roles of the parents were given emphasis along with their duties and responsibilities at home and at work during this pandemic. Parents' experiences in teaching, strategies to support learning, and support from school are the necessary components included in this study, which can be used to continue or improve the child learning outcomes through formulation of policies and interventions. In this study, the researcher used qualitative descriptive design, since according to Lambert and Lambert, the goal of qualitative descriptive studies is a comprehensive summarization in everyday terms of specific events experienced by individuals or groups of individuals. In the selection of participants for this study, the researcher used the purposive sampling, as cited in the article of Palinkas, Horwitz, Green, Wisdom, Duan, and Hagwood. It is a technique widely used in qualitative research for the identification and selection of information-rich cases for the most effective use of limited resources. With this sampling technique, 5 parent teachers of learners under primary grades were selected. 3 parent teachers of grade 1 learners and 2 parent teachers of grade 2 learners at Magallanes Sorsogon, spending at least 30 minutes formally teaching mathematics their children with the modules provided by the teachers. To, to gather the data, the researcher prepared an interview schedule and questionnaire consists of 2 sections: demographic profile of the parent-teacher, which includes their age, occupation, and educational attainment, and a set of 5 open-ended questions related to their experiences in teaching mathematics. Also, the researcher conducted semi-structured interview in the preferred schedule of the parent teachers to further substantiate their responses on the questionnaire. Interview transcripts were made based on the recorded responses of the parent teachers with the use of cellular phone. On the other hand, deductive thematic analysis of the data gathered through interview and questionnaire was used. Based on the article by Caulfield, it is a good approach to research about people's views, opinions, knowledge, experiences, or values from a set of qualitative data from interviews, transcripts, social media profiles, or survey responses. A deductive approach involves approaching to the data with some preconceived themes you expect to find based on theory or existing knowledge. Open coding from the data gathered was done at the initial stage, and teams and subteams were formed. The codes, teams, and subteams were reviewed and verified by the researcher to confirm coherence in interpretation. At this point, let me discuss the results of the study. First, profile of parent teachers. The selected parent teachers in Magallanes Sorsogon are 30 to 42 years of age, college graduate, and having distinct present job, namely school nurse, campus registrar, administrative aide, project development officer, and a graduating college student. All of them have only one child under primary grades, which are first and second graders. As to the number of hours, they have spent 30 minutes to 2 hours for teaching math after their work schedules at office and at home, particularly starting 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. during weekdays, while others are every Saturday and Sunday, morning and afternoon. Child's attention and focus on learning, other responsibilities at home and at work, free time and difficulties met in dealing with the modules in terms of its content and language use are the reasons why they have allotted such time and schedule for teaching math. For the first theme, experiences of parent teachers in teaching math with modular learning, there were 4 sub-themes being generated. One of those is the learning environment and child's motivation and attitude towards learning. The parent teachers encountered difficulties on motivating their children to be engaged in modular learning, on keeping positive attitudes towards learning, and on providing a favorable atmosphere for learning. As to instructional time and resources, the parent teachers have limited time for teaching and lack of learning materials. As to content of the learning modules, the parent teachers found some errors on the modules being distributed as well as the appropriateness of the language used. And for being an effective teacher, the parent teachers have given the opportunity to monitor their child's performance, to assess their child's ability in problem solving, to strengthen good relationship with their child, and to review the lessons to be taught. For the second sub-theme, strategies used by parent-teachers in teaching and management of learning, there were also four sub-themes being formed. 1. Child's readiness for learning. The parent-teachers provided schedule and reminders for their modular class, set positive mood for learning through sharing of stories and use of gadgets, and taught health and hygiene practices. Second, classroom setup at home. The parent-teachers have organized the learning space into mini classroom to support learning with inadequate learning materials. 3. Use of instructional materials and techniques. The parent-teachers used limited printed pictures and downloaded videos, including simple techniques for mathematical computations to increase student engagement and achievement. Lastly, the review of the previous lesson and reteaching. The parent-teachers conducted review of the preceding lesson and retaught lesson with identified difficulties as part of monitoring and evaluation. For the third theme, support to the parent-teachers provided by the school in teaching math, there were two sub-themes being formed. 1. Teachers monitoring and evaluation of students' learning. Based from the responses of the four parent-teachers, no weekly home visits were conducted by the teacher to monitor their child's learning and to answer the queries on the given modules, although they have discussed these matters through messenger chat. On the other hand, limited home visits were done only for face-to-face assessment. Second, conduct of meeting with the teacher. Monthly meetings were attended by two of the parent-teachers to determine the difficulties encountered in dealing with the modular learning of their students, to distribute the succeeding modules, to distribute the report cards, or to answer the concerns of the modules being distributed. The aforementioned findings of this study indicate that the shift from face-to-face learning at school to distance learning at home have caused more challenges to all stakeholders of educational institutions, primarily the teachers, students, and parents. This shift was brought by the continuous threats of COVID-19 pandemic to health and safety of children and adults all over the world. With the implementation of modular distance learning, additional roles and responsibilities were given to the parents and other members of the family, having the direct contact with the learners at home. Some of these responsibilities include receiving and submitting the modules to the school, guiding and teaching the learners with the modules, and communicating with the teachers regarding their concerns, along with the other responsibilities at home and at work. With this study, lived experiences of parents were recorded, in- including the teaching strategies they have used and the support they have received from the school. Varied recent literature and studies were conducted and published regarding the experiences of parents in modular home-based instruction, which are found relevant and similar to the findings of this study, and a support to the major implications derived and discussed on the succeeding tips. For the experiences of parents, teachers in teaching math with modular learning, three related studies were found. 1. Garbe, Ogurlo, Logan, and Cook. Some of the struggles met by the parents is the lack of learner motivation, specifically related to remote learning, related to home learning environment, and the lack of learner motivation not specifically related to remote learning, related to boredom, motivation, attention span, engagement, attitude, behavior, cooperation, and focus. For Barkey Foundation, teachers require the help of parents to ensure that their students participate consistently in remote learning programs, and complete their assigned tasks on time and to the best of their ability. In particular, it falls to parents to manage their child's timetable, lessons, and to ensure that they keep up with their schoolwork. While for Palma, Scotia, Distur, Tuyao, Malaco, and Australian, parents still value education and want their children to continue to study and excel at school. They still manage to provide high academic support to their children during this time, and parents have an overview of all the events their children face at school. These were the related studies for the strategies used by parent teachers in teaching and management of learning. 1. Bamane, Makdum, Ariba, Baruchi, Ale, Kalim, and Ahmed. The strategies used by the parents to support learning are maintaining a strict schedule and engaging in different creative activities. Implementing a schedule helps children feel less restless and more productive, while creative activities provide a unique opportunity to try out new things and ideas. And according to Mercader and Abadiano, despite the threats such as difficulties and emotional stress accumulated through home tutorial experiences, functional illiterate parents are significantly responsive in managing the modular distance learning modality of their children. Moreover, given their weakness, such as lack of accountability, they gain positive opportunities such as learning and parental involvement, opportunities in assuming the role of the teachers in this time of educational crisis. For support to the parent-teachers provided by the school in teaching math, according to Mew, Gallagher, Cottingham, Gong, Kimner, Witt, G, and Howe, their research suggests a framework for educators to use in their preparation to provide quality instruction through distance and blended models. This includes prioritize interaction and collaboration in synchronous learning opportunities. 2. Conduct regular formative assessments and provide prompt feedback to students and families. And 3. Provide regular, individualized contact for each student. Based on the findings of the study, the researcher arrived at the following conclusions. Number 1, the experiences of parent-teachers in teaching math involves providing a conducive learning environment, maintaining child's motivation and attitude towards learning, allotting enough instructional time and resources, understanding the content of the learning modules, and being an effective teacher. Number 2, focusing on child's readiness for learning, having classroom set up at home, use of instructional materials and techniques, and review of the previous lesson and reteaching are the strategies used by the parent teachers to teach and to manage learning. Number 3, as support to their teaching, the teacher conduct home visit for limited face-to-face assessment, online monitoring of students' learning, and parents concerned on modules, and monthly meeting at school. In the light of foregoing conclusions, the following recommendations were made. Number 1, the teachers may continue to differentiate their instructional approaches and practices, including their teaching and learning interventions for each family, some of which are experiencing significant struggles while others have not. Number 2, teachers and school administrators may organize some training programs on effective modular learning at home for parents considering their experiences, educating parents about the system for modular distance learning, including the learning materials, key teaching strategies, and teacher, student, parents communication options are important for future modular distance learning efforts. Number three, collaboration with parents may be strengthened by the school administrators and teachers in evaluating the effectiveness of preferred educational approach and in developing strategic interventions suited to the learner's educational needs. And number four, other studies may be conducted which will include parent teachers from other municipality or city in Sorsogon having similar type of distance learning and other variables not covered in this research. For the impact and outcomes, the findings of this study may serve as basis for providing a comprehensive and inclusive education policies considering the experiences of the learners' parents during the pandemic and beyond. The outputs of this study may provide inputs on formulating strategic interventions by the teachers, school administrators, and curriculum planners as to the implementation of modular learning. And these are the references used for this research. That's all. Thank you for listening.